Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Commander Pickups video, a series where I recommend some cards that I think have potential to go back up, or at least hold their value. Today we're going to be looking at cards that have mostly reached their all-time lows. Before we get into it though, first I would like to remind you, if you have not already, please do subscribe to the channel. We're at 32,000 and we are going strong. Thank you so much for making this 2022 so far a pretty good year. First card we have to talk about is Sneak Attack from Urza's Saga. We could also look at the Sneak Attack from Double Masters, that's the most recent reprint. But if we look at that chart, that doesn't really give us the big picture here. Sneak Attack, going back to 2014, was being sold for around $50 to $70. It was highly sought after for Commander, and Urza Saga is that kind of set where it's filled with a ton of expensive cards already, and while it's not on the reserve list, it is a rather iconic card for the format. It feels weird calling this an old school card for Commander, but Commander's been a supported format for over a decade now. And while maybe it doesn't have the same kind of presence it used to, I think we are going to see a bit of a premium placed on this set, specifically Urza's Saga. You'll hear me talk about the premium for sets like Arabian Nights in my Market Watch videos. While I don't think we're going to see anything quite to that extreme anytime soon, 10 years from now, if the game is still going strong, Urza's Saga could become what Arabian Nights is right now. People go back to even older sets, they go to Ice Age, they go to the Dark, and they ask themselves, well, why isn't this set being treated like Arabian Nights? Well, because the set overall is pretty weak. Those sets were weak. Urza Saga is filled with Gaia's Cradle, you have Yawgmoth's Will. I think those two cards are going to be the Library of Alexandria's, they're going to be the Bazaar of Baghdad's for Urza Saga, and that would only bring more attention to other cards from Urza Saga, even non-reserve list ones like Sneak Attack. But this is really important, you have to focus on the original print. Any reprints, if you look at rares from Arabian Nights, they're way higher than any reprint. City of Brass, for example. You're looking at about $500 for anything in decent condition. The reprints are not awful. They'll still get you like $20, but that's a pretty big price difference. That's what we want to focus on here. And the original printing from Urza Saga is getting close to all-time lows. So when you add them all up, it's a great card, it's super playable, it's from an awesome set that people love. Urza Saga is top 3 for most people. It only being around $20, I think, is a great card. Some would say you're sneak attacking the market. Next up, we have a Noble Hierarch from Modern Horizons 2. I love mana dorks that can tap for multiple colors. This does handcuff you into playing Jund at the very least in Commander, but seeing as it's just the Jund version of Noble Hierarch, which has always been a desirable card, I would expect its value to reflect that, at least somewhat. Right now you can get it for under $4. I think that is an absolute steal. When you look at the chart at the very beginning, always disregard that. Every rare, every mythic from brand new sets are always going to be listed at higher prices early on. Hey, you want to get this early? Let me sucker you out of $50. But wait a week or two later and then you see its real price range and you started to see it settle around $12. I think what you're looking at here realistically is a $4 card that could be a $12 card. A lot of people who are new to speculating card value, they're coming into it without any experience from the actual stock market. And once you understand how stocks work, everything else just makes sense. When you understand previous highs, previous lows, resistance levels, and support levels. What I like about Modern Horizons 2 is that you're seeing consistency. It is going down, but it's not a steep decline, which means that there is some support there. It is close to being a perfect horizontal line with a slight decline, which tells me that that is becoming a support level and that it's not going to stay under $4 for long. Next up, we have a very similar situation here with Grist the Hunger Tide. An interesting planeswalker because it is capable of being your commander. When it's not on the battlefield, it's considered a creature, so it's a legendary creature. What we're looking at here, again, pay attention to the market price. I talked about this during my Market Watch video, because that is the price that it is being sold for. The average is almost always going to be listed higher. We're seeing the same exact thing. It is almost a perfect horizontal line. We're talking about a half a year already. We're seeing surprisingly low volatility from these rares and mythics out of Modern Horizons 2. That is a good thing. That tells me there is some stability here. We're talking about support levels and resistance levels, what it won't go below. And I don't think it's going to go below $5. I should probably make another video specifically going over resistance levels. But for the sake of trying to get the best price for your cards, always look to see what number it's probably not going to go below. Next up we have Marsh Flats, the Zendikar Rising Expeditions. I hate these with a burning passion. Why exactly, you might be asking me? Well, because the original expeditions from Battle for Zendikar were viewed as collectibles. These were extremely rare cards that you could only get in one out of maybe a couple booster boxes, if you were lucky. Now, you're lucky if you're getting similar value to the original printing. That's how bad the value is the second time around with expeditions. This isn't even the first expedition for Marsh Flats as a card, or the other fetch lands, and it being under $30 I think is insane. If you're that kind of person who you want your deck to be blinged out, this is a recommendation. You get most of these for under $50, which could you imagine that going back 7 or 8 years to the previous Zendikar sets? Not only do you get the actual fetch land itself for under $50, but you get this rare variant. It's not for me, but I know it is for a lot of people. Next up, we have this wonderful card here, Luminous Broodmoth. Now, I'm starting to adjust my approach to these recommendations videos, where I used to just talk about cards that are dirt cheap, like under $2. I don't always do that. I don't always recommend people you just hoard a bunch of cards and then you turn around and flip them. I recommend good quality cards for Commander. Luminous Broodmoth might be the first one where I'm actually recommending you buy it, because it does have potential to flip easy. Same low volatility that you've seen from Modern Horizons 2. We haven't seen anything that synergizes with it any more or any less than before. There's no reason why people would stop playing Luminous Broodmoth. ETB decks love it, Aristocrat decks love it, Counters decks love it. People are getting this for around $8. And when you look at the chart at the very beginning, you see an incredibly high listing price, but you also see a reasonably high market number as well. So you saw it was being sold back in May for around $20 to $25. I think this card being a mythic, an explosive mythic, one that could easily combo, you're looking at something that could easily be a $25 to $30 card. There's also an asterisk for most of the cards I'm talking about today. If they don't get reprints anytime soon, the prediction is more likely to come true, of course. Next up, we have another great card, Teferi, Master of Time from Core Set 2021. Being sold for under $7. This Planeswalker is incredibly unique because you are able to activate the loyalty abilities on any player's turn. At any time you could cast an instant, and all of the abilities are incredibly useful. Everything I just said for Luminous Broodmoth, I'm going to say it again for Teferi, Master of Time. Look at the very beginning of the chart. It has a high listing price, you're seeing high listing prices, but you're also seeing a high market sold price. So going back to summer of 2020, people were actually spending $40 to $50 for this Planeswalker. Even weeks after its release, you were seeing people still spending $20 to $25 for it. Now being under $7, I think that's where your target should be. Hold on to this, wait for it to become a $20 to $25 card. I don't want to say Planeswalkers are being overpowered in Commander, but in this slower format you need speed, and I think Teferi, Master of Time is a very desirable Planeswalker for the fact that you don't have to wait to activate your next loyalty ability. You can do it on your opponent's turns. The ult is great, the ult might just win you the game. The -3 is also incredibly defensive. And next up, we're going to be looking at Commander Legends here for these next two cards. Keeper of the Accord, being sold for under $3. This is amazing. You're going to look at a lot of these cards and you're going to see a relatively horizontal line. Yes, it is close to all-time lows, but it's not going much lower. So there's your support. Under 3, I think you're getting a deal. And you'll notice looking at Commander Legends, there are just a ton of underpriced cards. I think the entire set, you can still get it for a pretty good deal. And Keeper of the Accord is one of those rares that I think has potential to go up. You get good creature token support, and it does the same thing that white decks typically do. They give you planes if your opponents have more lands than you do. And the last card here to talk about is Court of Ambition. We could be talking about any of the court cards. I like Court of Ambition. I think it has probably the nastiest trigger. It's one of those Monarch cards that at the beginning of your upkeep, if you are the Monarch, each opponent's going to lose 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. I like to compare this to Painful Quandary, and yes, I think that's the ceiling. I think a lot of these Monarch cards are also going to go up too. If they were willing to bring back the Monarch mechanic for Commander Legends, they're likely to bring it back again, which means if you're someone who speculates future value, this might be something you want to keep your sights on. We're looking at tremendous value for under $1. And I think this could very well be a $10 to $15 card. I think a lot of these rares from Commander Legends could explode. If we see any support for the Monarch mechanic, Court of Ambition and other Monarch related cards are bound to go up. So anyway, that'll do it for today's Commander Pickups video. This is of course for March 11th, 2022. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.